Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the AI era. I'm Castralian, and in this episode I will discuss the sociopolitical impacts of AI on society, and specifically I will discuss why AI will dramatically change the structure of our society. To understand the impacts of AI on society in the long term, it is beneficial to first understand its economic impacts, which I have talked about in the previous episode. But in brief, AI will increase humanity's productivity on an extraordinary scale, which in turn will result in a fast rate of wealth creation. However, the nature and the rate of this wealth creation will be unprecedented. And as a result of that, our current social and political structures will transform into something entirely new. Let me explain. We are now heading towards a superintelligence kind of AI that is called AGI sometimes. The main idea is that we will have an AI or a system of AIs that can do virtually everything that a human can do. That means humans will have very little or next to nothing to produce and add to the economy. But our current economic system is designed so that humans are both producers and consumers in the economy. You would produce something, sell it to others, and use the money you earn to purchase something for yourself, and the chain goes on and on. As they put it, one person's spending is another person's income. But what happens if you don't earn something because you cannot give to the economy something that AI can't give? Then you wouldn't have anything to spend, and you cannot buy things from either another person or an AI system. You might be thinking that AI companies will earn a ton of money, but how would AI systems get money? Nobody has anything to spend in the first place, remember? They cannot earn anything because they can't produce anything better than AI. It becomes a chicken and egg problem. So, as simple as that, our current economic structures wouldn't work for that future. But there are some ideas about how we can adapt. The most famous idea is universal basic income, or UBI. The idea is that the central government will distribute a base income among people, and people will use that money to buy things. Then the government will tax the companies to which people spend their UBI money and fund the next wave of UBI. So essentially, the central government will build and maintain a synthetic and regulated circulation of money. If you think it sounds like a communist society where the government will decide who gets what, well, it indeed resembles one. But humanity has tested that path previously after the wealth creation wave from the Industrial Revolution. The result? The communist movement enabled history's most extreme dictatorship regimes because, after all, that's what happens when the government is above all and decides who gets what. But with that said, what are the alternatives of getting out from the chicken and egg dilemma? How can we get away from the AI-powered economic dead end for humans, as I described earlier? Well, first off, let's see how things will probably evolve if everything goes business as usual. For that, we can look back at history and we can see that the following has been the dominant pattern. First, the whole society's wealth increases with the technological developments. In the meanwhile, some individuals had the resources or the knowledge to use the wealth creation vehicles, and they benefited most from this wealth creation wave. In the Industrial Revolution, the wealth creation vehicles were the mechanical machines, and the primary beneficiaries were the factory owners. In the IT revolution, wealth creation vehicles were the computers, and the primary beneficiaries were the tech companies and the tech workers. This uneven wealth and reward distribution has always been the dominant pattern, but at the same time, it's important to remember that this uneven wealth distribution was the mechanism to incentivize development and productivity. If you develop a search engine like Google that saves the time of many people and bring them comfort, then you will be highly and unevenly rewarded, that incentivized many top talents to work on the search engines and finally unlocked the unbelievable wealth for the builders of the best engine. So, this has always been the pattern. Technological development increases the wealth of society, but in particular, those developments favor the people who have the wealth or knowledge to shape those technological developments. This will lead to a widening gap in the wealth within the society. Naturally, more advanced technological developments lead to more extreme wealth gaps. And if we consider AI as the most advanced technological development so far, it could lead to an unimaginable wealth gap. People who own the infrastructure and the knowledge of AI systems will become dramatically wealthier than the rest of society. That will be the extreme case of capitalistic wealth gap. So far, in this episode, I have depicted two scenarios. The first one leads to a socialistic and maybe even a communistic type of society, and the other one leads to an extreme capitalistic society. The interesting thing is that if you consider different scenarios of how AI would develop, you most likely again end up in a variant of these two extremes. That could have two meanings. First, it might mean that we are currently in a critical edge, that either of these two scenarios are equally probable, and what we do right now will determine which direction we will take. Second, it might mean that we will live in a society that will have both socialistic and capitalistic features included in it. What does that society look like exactly? Well, I'm not sure, but that's a possibility. You can see both socialistic and capitalistic features in Scandinavian countries, for example, but those are very limited examples if you think of the scale of the whole world. In summary, something that is almost certain is that the AI revolution will definitely shape the sociopolitical landscape of our world in the future. We can see that trend already happening with AI-powered social media algorithms influencing the results of major elections around the world. As a result, it's very important to be aware of the AI impacts on our society structures and try to protect self-evident values like democracy. Well, that was all for this episode, but definitely not for this important topic, and we will get back to it in future episodes. Stay tuned for the next episode, where I will discuss whether generative AI is an actual creator or just an imitator of the data that is fed to it. And until then, adapt and evolve.